The number one most important thing in all of communication, not just marketing, as we sit here today, is your organic social media creative strategy. That all of marketing and everything starts before you spend money on media amplification. It is how you extract consumer insights. It is the most important thing to raise money for your business, to raise money for the PTA, to be elected local mayor, to sell flowers of your flower shop locally. If you want something to happen, the number one most important thing in the world now is your organic social media content strategy and capability.
Attention is the number one asset.
Gary.
Yes.
I'm really excited you wrote this book because, number one, so much great insight in it. But also, I'd say as Nicole and I talk to business owners, to creators, the number one thing people want is how do we get attention?
Yeah.
How do I get people to pay attention to the thing that I'm building? How do I grow? Which is really how to get attention.
Yeah, if you don't have attention, you can't start the process of growing.
And you write in the book, the number one skill people need in marketing is to understand attention. Understand where it comes from, understand how to find it in undervalued areas. I want to dig into that phrase, understanding attention. What do you think people misunderstand about attention?
Actualized attention versus potential attention, the practicality of it. I live a lot of my life right now in Madison Avenue land. Fortune 500 companies spend most of their money on potential reach versus actualized reach. And what does that mean? That means that literally $70 billion in television media spent a year, and 90% of it goes in the garbage. Banner ads, programmatic digital.
You mean garbage because nobody's seeing it?
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, this is something that really bothers a lot of people in my business, but I just don't understand how anyone's even willing to debate this. Oh, but Gary, people watch sports. I'm like, I know, I'm one of them, but I watched the entire Knicks Sixers game this weekend. Every time it went to commercial break, high-fiving with my brother, texting my Knicks thread, and sending something on Twitter to
totally
talk
tuned
shit.
out from the ads.
No,
Yeah.
If you gave me it all to recall one, I got no fucking shot. So I've spent a lot of money on print. I love print. I write books. I like magazines a lot, still to touch it.
Yep.
But like, you're paying on circulation. Actually, that's not even true. When you buy a full page ad in a newspaper or magazine, you're paying based on if that magazine or newspaper was left on a bus and saw by another person. They multiply.
Yeah.
They multiply.
It's a ridiculous number.
It's like Fugazi.
Yeah.
But all of marketing numbers are, besides, can you see the sales? Can you feel and then the brand is the game. This is where people get away with it. They're right. Brand over sales, right? Like when you do a Super Bowl ad, you'll potentially feel something in the short term, but it amortizes over time. Branding, marketing, for sure, you can't fully measure it, especially if it's how you feel versus how you transact in the short term. But look, I think that influencers, they are really bad at platform distribution. They blow up on Instagram and they just want to stay there. 4 years ago, I know both of you know this, 5 years ago, I'm screaming through my content, TikTok. And the number one reason that people that were winning on Instagram didn't go was insecurity or laziness.
Because they were afraid to rebuild on TikTok.
They didn't want to start at zero.
Yeah.
My brother, I love how you quickly, I feel like you really went there with me. They did not want to deploy the humility needed to start over.
Right.
They couldn't deal with like being at 40,000 followers when they had 800,000.
And, it's worth noting that that's not just a problem with people building social followings. That's literally everybody in any kind of business or any kind of career. You have success in one area, and as the market, as the ground underneath you starts to shift.
You want to take it a higher level up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are people literally right now who are deeply unhappy in their relationship and are not willing to get divorced because they feel that will be viewed as a failure.
Yeah.
They're willing to live the rest of their lives unhappy because of the ideology of what it would look like to take a step backwards.
You're right.
Which is less noble than doing it because you want the kids to have something like I don't know, like it's the human journey of like lack of humility. Anyway, I believe that the reason I've done well with day trading attention for my entire career is I'm not scared of restarting. I'm not scared of being wrong. I'm not scared of changing my mind. I'm not scared is really the theme. And then
can
please.
I imagine a critic of what you just said
Yes.
so that you can answer.
Yes.
You're also not afraid because anywhere you go, you can draw attention. If you start on Mastodon tomorrow, you're probably already on Mastodon. If you were to start tomorrow, you could get people to pay attention to you. That's harder for a lot of other people.
27 people watching me in my office on Twitch live streaming. 27. Because I'm mute. I'm not doing anything compelling. Like, I don't have attention there. I haven't pushed the hardest yet because I also know that I'm not able to have compelling content there. But a couple things on that. Number one, that goes back to my Instagram, TikTok thing. All those Instagram models, comedians, thought leaders, they too could have sent over their following there. Number two, following to next platform is earned. I can because I earned it by bringing value to my audience. However, it wasn't always like that for me. Right?
That's
so
true.
I think that
the reason I brought that up is just to
I love
just to be thinking about the person who is starting from zero right now.
And also they're scared to do dances. Back then it was only like shaking your ass.
But it wasn't. Like, I was on Musical.ly and it wasn't. But to your point and to your credit, 60% was. If you were a practitioner and you looked at it every day and you could see other things were emerging. And then back to the point of like skills, like you have to be good at it and you have to provide value. But, I think, look, the concept of attention is the most fascinating thing to me because I don't think you can get elected for office. I don't think that every November, it's going to happen again this November. Forget about the presidential election. Every November, there's an upset out of Ohio. There's a shock in New Mexico. And like, I sit around with like my inner circle. I'm like, no, it's not. That person made 8,000 times more social content than the incumbent who ran all their money on television. And they're like, oh, but Gary, young people don't vote. Young people aren't the only ones consuming content on social networks. Your grandma's going ham on Facebook.
Yeah, she sure is.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. My dad's on Facebook all the time.
You know what I mean? Like, and by the way, not just on Facebook, like the amount of 40, 50, and 60-year-olds consuming real levels of content on TikTok is real. It's real. And so, I think the biggest thing I could say is, and I'm kind of leaning into the, both of you asked me before we went on a little bit about like, how's the book going and what's going on, or what was the most surprising thing? I actually have an answer to what I've most observed in the last month. I myself am now comfortable putting this flag in the ground and I'm not willing to hedge anymore. The number one most important thing in all of communication, not just marketing, as we sit here today, is your organic social media creative strategy. That all of marketing and everything starts before you spend money on media amplification, before it is how you extract consumer insights. It is the most important thing to raise money for your business, to raise money for the PTA, to be elected local mayor, to sell flowers of your flower shop locally, or if you're BMW or YSL or Louis Vuitton, like Coca-Cola, like selfish, selfless, capitalistic, altruistic. If you want something to happen, the number one most important thing in the world now is your organic social media content strategy and capability. And that's why I went ham on this book. That's why I went further than I've ever taken myself with this book. This book is borderline boring to me. It's so detailed.
Super
it's
tactical.
Like a textbook.
It looks like a textbook.
Well, you guys are better students than I am. So,
we saw more. Let me double click on that point that you just made and a phrase that you used, which was extracting consumer insights. So what that reminded me of was, Gary, I don't know if you remember this, but you and I got a drink God knows how many years ago. And I had asked you a question, which was, how do you keep track of which ideas of yours make good content? And what you did was you pulled out your phone, you opened Twitter, and you said, here's my strategy. I don't know if it still is, but this is what I said at the time. And I've repeated this to so many people because it was so smart. You said, this is what you do. Anytime you have an idea, you test it out on Twitter. Just throw it out there. It's basically a record of how much people respond to this idea. And if it's good, even in a short 1 or 2 sentence form, it's worth developing further. Maybe then you take it somewhere else. Maybe you talk about it a little bit more. And you use a little bit of a proving ground as the starting point for understanding, for extracting consumer insights, for seeing what people will respond to. And then once you know that, you can go larger with it.
Not only is it my strategy, it has now elevated to what we're talking about. It is now so refined. If that was 101 back then, or 201, I would say when we sat down, well, I'm in the 401 course of this now. I don't make content, and I make a lot of it, and my clients make even more of it without even thinking about that being a premise. Like, that's in the batter.
Yeah.
Like, it's in the meal. It's an ingredient. It's the salt and pepper and olive oil you're cooking in. It's like, I would never think, and I know that most people don't think this way, and I would never think about making content without also being curious to the quant and qual data that comes out of that individual post. Doesn't even cross my mind to post anything on earth that isn't at some level also or significantly trying to understand.
Everything's a test.
All of my talking is actual listening.
Tell me, what does that mean? It's a good line.
It's funny because I'm so hyper and I'm so high energy and I talk a lot and I jump in and I interrupt. And I kind of like went through like a really interesting 2 or 3 year period with myself because I'm like, ugh, it's like, you know, I'm like, what? Not like, ugh, it's bad. I'm like, it felt like there was deeper reason I was doing that. And like, the reality is that besides the time everyone sees me in these formats, I'm in the listening business. I'm normally in my back cave, you know, and just doing my homework. And so I'm incredibly curious. I'm deeply empathetic, and I don't understand why anyone would do anything unless it was good for them. And I believe that most people, when they're communicating or doing something, are thinking about what's in it for them. You know, even, again, I'm going back to this book, I really feel accomplished and happy about it. I don't know if I've always written books for the audience. That's why my books do well. But this one, I pushed myself into uncomfortable territory. There's like charts and shit in this.
Yeah, there are. There are charts and shit.
Guys, I'm a DNF student for real. Like, this was like, if you watch the footage of me in the booth doing the audio recording of the audiobook, it was a fucking 3-day grind.
I felt it. I watched some of it.
Yeah, right. Like, Nicole, listen, I'd literally rather be like climbing the Himalayas in a t-shirt. Like, it was like incredibly challenging. But I think I often talk not for reaction, but I'm asking questions. I'm curious. I'm trying to provide value. I'm also efficient. So like, I'm trying to provide value and extract the next insight or the next curiosity, or I love getting people to ponder different perspectives, which will get them to verbalize things. I'm looking for the unlock at all times.
What you're describing is the interpersonal version of the thing that you just told me you do on Twitter.
That's right.
Which is to say, and I found that to be very useful for myself too, which is when you're talking, what you're also doing is you're developing new ideas and you're seeing how they take. And if they take well, then you can develop them further. And if they don't, then you can move on. It feels like, in a way, you've taken the strategy that works really well online and just applied it to testing ideas all the time. The
reverse.
Yeah.
The reverse.
The reverse.
The way I lived my life before I hit online at 34 years old was what I brought to online. What is very clear to me is that I got very fortunate in the way I grew up. I grew up in very diverse neighborhoods. I grew up very humble and very, very attracted to spending time with like elder. I was a very, like in hindsight, I'm like, oh, this all makes sense. But I was the kid that would roll up on grandparents when they were at the park and talk to them about like JFK's assassination and the man. I was curious about modern history and people. I was like, where did you grow? I mean, when you're 11 and your friends' grandparents come to the neighborhood and you're playing basketball outside and you're drawn to going to sit to them and say like, where are you from, Gertrude? How did you grow up? Where were you when JFK got assassinated? Why did Ronald Reagan win so easily? Where's the beef? Did you buy Wendy's? But do you have siblings? Like, when you're that
You're like the little kid from Jerry Maguire.
Yeah. You know what? That's a really, like, you know, I'd like to think I was a little cuter, but, you know, like, I'm just kidding. He's pretty damn cute. Yes, I was absolutely like that.
But what if somebody wasn't like that? What if they were 11-year-old sitting in the corner reading and an introvert? And now they're hearing, come out and be on social media, go get the attention. But like it feels so cringy.
Makes sense. Couple things. Love that. First of all, no business needs to have a person in the front of it.
Really?
That's right.
No business needs to have a person in the front of it.
It's lovely. It's really good. I'm a big fan. Humans like humans. But there are many small businesses, many mid-sized businesses, and many large businesses that don't have a human face to it. That's right.
Accounts.
Or they create mascots. I don't know Johnny Geico. I know the Geico lizard, right? Like, so if someone like me who really analyzes, there's a lot of hot dog stands, flower shops, car washes that are just good at TikTok trends or just very good at audio storytelling. A lot of people actually like being behind the camera, but in front of the camera, meaning you hear their voice, but you never really see them. There's a lot of ways to go about it. Plus, even as a personal brand, I think you two know this about me. I feel like our relationships this should land. You also are in control of how public you are. I am remarkably out there, but I have been historically incredibly private about my personal life, right? So you have a lot more control. So a couple things to the introverts. Number one, you don't need to be having your face all over the place. Number two, I think for people that aren't intuitively curious or aren't intuitively creative, let's just talk it through. They have to recognize, like, tough shit, this is how business works. And here's what I mean by that. It doesn't mean that they still can't be successful, but they have to find answers. I naturally hate working out or eating healthy.
Same.
Spent my whole life into my late 30s not having a muscle in my body and just not doing the right things. I had to decide if I was going to really bunker down and go through the mental, process of getting myself into a position to fix it. And I did. And so, like, the way I think about small businesses not doing the things that I think are principled for success, I'm very empathetic to it. Every day, including this morning, was such a grind for me to get into the gym. I hate it, you two, like you can't imagine. I fucking hate it.
What do you tell yourself? How do you do it?
I just prefer to live longer and be healthier and be happier. Like it's just something. The world has gotten incredibly bad at being comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, so it's the Brene Brown, like, you don't have to be live tweeting your bikini wax to be vulnerable or live TikToking your colonoscopy. Like, when you think about vulnerability, you might think that you have to expose all of these things. And I struggle with this too, because I don't want to talk about my personal life. I never do. I'm like, let's just talk about the content.
It's never even crossed my mind to talk about me going to the dentist or having a colonoscopy. Like, to me, my private life is my private life. Like, vulnerability can come in very different shapes and sizes. Keep going.
No, I think that for me, I struggle with trying to show other parts that I'm just not comfortable with. And I look at you and you really do inspire me to say, like, I don't have to show family stuff. Like, I just don't. And you have that much attention to day trade and night trade and long-term investing and all of it, that I think it's really admirable that you don't have to go to those places that people think if you're vulnerable.
Yeah, I think if you're not happy, the action will not be sustainable. Like, everybody who's listening right now who's like gritting their teeth every time they post, like, it's not going to work out. You're not going to be able to sustain it. Another thing that both of you know is I've really been doing it a long time. Like, I'm a marathon runner. I've been, like, uncomfortably consistent since 2006. And, Nicole, you and I really met early. If you think about all the plethora of personalities that popped out in that 2005, 6, 7, 8 era, there are not a lot of, you can count them on your hand, of people that have kind of stayed the course. And I believe it's because my framework was sustainable for me.
Cockroach.
There's in VeeFriends, my little, Sesame Street, Pokemon, intellectual property company, I created 283 characters, and, the cockroach is conviction cockroach. And I do think conviction conviction that is not delusional is what keeps you alive forever. And I've had very strong conviction about this, which was, one, I'm only going to share what I want to share. Two, and this is a big one, I want everyone to hear this, I'm going to share stuff that's good for them, not good for me. And here's what I mean by that. You know when like somebody takes a photo of them like on a private plane? I'd like to understand how that's good for the audience. Because what I've thought then, and now I'm fully in belief of 10 years later, is that was going to only just lead to people's own insecurities flaring up on them. Yeah. Like everyone's living their best life ever because people don't think about what's bringing value to the audience.
Well, I think for sure, if you're really flying on a jet, you're not taking pictures.
Yeah, most people are not. They're not sitting on real private planes. there are, you know this, right? There are private planes that people rent just to sit in and take photos.
Even better, in Russia, there was a startup that just built a studio that was a private plane, just people rolling through. It's really scary. But look, lifestyles, people are like, oh my God, these kids, the reason they have so much anxiety is everyone's showing all this stuff on social media. I'm like, do you know what MTV Cribs was? Do you know what lifestyles of the rich and famous were in the 80s? Like, we didn't have alternatives to consume stuff. So anyway, look, I think long-winded, a lot of this starts with perspective and mental frameworks. And I think before people even get into the tactics of day trading attention, they have to decide like who they are, what makes them happy, where they go. But they do have to understand there's things. It does not make me happy to eat well and go in the gym. It does not come natural. But I know it's important. And in the business framework, you may think social media is stupid. It may not come natural to you, but it is eating up attention at such a rapid pace. And basically for the OGs that are listening, there used to be the television, there still is, and there used to be ABC, NBC, CBS, PBS. There was like 13 channels. Even when I was a little kid, that's how it rolled before cable. And that's how I see the phone. The phone is now the television, and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat, they're the ABC, NBC, and CBS. And we as humans can do two things. We could be the MASH and the Seinfeld, or we can be the Coca-Cola and Procter & Gamble. We can both produce the creative that is consumed, and we can also run the ads. And that is the framework.
Do you think TikTok's going to get banned?
I do.
What do you think is going to happen?
I think that I'm going to have to really like be on my sharpest game for 30 days to understand where all that ungodly attention is going, because that's what I do for a living. I want to be the best day trader of attention in the world. And I feel like I'm like already, you know, when you have to like a boxer like trains for months before a fight, I'm not joking. The reason I answer like so clearly like I do is not because I have any like real political feelings about it. I don't even want to get into the emotion of debating this. There's so much to it. I'm just taking it to the business level of like, okay, this is probably going to happen. And that is it's unprecedented in the history of American pop culture for that much attention to disappear in one shot and have to find a home. It's like water, you know, like the dam breaks, it has to find a home. And, you know, as we sit here today, I'm like, okay, there's got to be at least 24 really smart kids building their own apps trying to capture it.
So you don't think an entrepreneur or a group, a syndicate can come in and buy it?
Oh, I don't think they're going to sell it. I don't think that's how the geopolitical war is playing out. I think it's very cute and ideological. I could be very wrong about this, and this is so above my pay grade that I can't wait to look back at this and be like, you were wrong. But if I'm a betting man, I don't see China selling it so easily. It's too valuable for it to have the discourse that it had in India.
But isn't that scary, though, to businesses who not only lose attention overnight, but then lose customers because they don't own those customers?
Yeah, but that's how the world's always worked in advertising. Like, you don't own your customers when you buy a full-page ad in the Wall Street Journal. You know, like when you're an advertiser, you're renting at all times. And as a creator, these are, you know, I always tell everybody, they're free. Like, what do you, like, oh, I'm so mad at Facebook. The algorithm's fucking me. It's free. Thank you.
But it's like lower on the funnel than, you know, a newspaper ad or something.
Yeah.
People are looking at it closer to conversion where it could really hurt sales or revenue.
It's going to hurt sales. You know what else hurts sales? iOS 14.5 update.
True story, and podcast downloads.
Right? Mm-hmm. Like, you know what else hurt business? Well, do you know why everybody has AAA cleaners and AAA like insect repeller company and AAA carpet cleaners? Because if your company was called AAA, you showed up first in the yellow pages. So you know what really hurt business? Search engines. They destroyed the yellow pages, and then people walked around with their companies named AAA fucking carpet cleaners.
Right,
and
which is now why you drive down the street and you see restaurants called Great Chinese Restaurant.
That's right.
Because it's what shows up in search.
In Google.
Correct.
Yeah.
So look, attention and the platforms that own attention will constantly change. You know what really hurt ABC, NBC, and CBS? Cable television. You know what hurt cable television? The internet. You know, like it's a forever game. And that's really the big issue at hand right now. We are in an extreme game of haves and have-nots that know how to day trade attention right now. And the advantage is to small. The advantage right now is to the individual humans and entrepreneurs, because big corporate companies are so stuck in 1980s, 2000s, 2010 marketing, and they're buying programmatic banners, they're buying billboards, they're buying radio, they're buying television. You'd be shocked. And then they're obsessed with tomorrow. I have more Fortune 500 clients 3 years ago willing to spend $1 million in building a store in the metaverse that had 8 people in it than they are in spending money on social media creative. Because advertising in big companies are romantic about yesterday. Let's just make one more good TV spot. It's still there. They're infatuated with tomorrow. If we don't spend $1 billion on AI, we're going to be dead. And they suck at today. And today, social media, creative, organic across these 10 platforms is the starting point to insights, to performance ads. The algorithms are so good that when your organic creative does well, that's when you slightly tweak it and turn it into a performance ad. That's the post iOS 14.5 game.
Yeah.
You do it well, you see what works, and then you throw money at it.
But you don't think of it as test and learn.
Yeah.
You don't think of it as throw against the wall and see what sticks. You don't think of it as spray and pray. I don't tweet complete random shit. It's all thoughts. So I think of it as advertising for the sake of better advertising. When people hear it sometimes, they think it's one of those 3 things. Oh, this is test and learn. By calling it test and learn, it devalues the individual social media post. To me, an individual social media post is more important than a print ad from 10 years ago. It has the potential to reach millions of people.
Gary, what do you think about LinkedIn right now?
I mean, is it a place where there's wide open space to grow in a way that like is harder on Instagram?
Getting a job tool, I think Indeed and LinkedIn are good utilities.
Yeah.
As a social network, I think LinkedIn is a wide open space. I mean, and both of you know this because I know we are around each other enough. Again, this is another one that I've been yelling about for 4 to 5 years. It's been wide open in supply and demand issues.
Yeah, Jason's listened to you. I have not.
Yes.
Yet.
Yes.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I've invested heavily in my time on LinkedIn. I appreciate you noticing.
And if you put a gun to my head, I could not tell you my LinkedIn.
And what's scary,
give her a whole lecture
what's super scary is you would fucking slay on there.
Thanks.
You would crush.
Thank you.
Because one of the things that you've always had is merit of your thoughts and ideas. Like LinkedIn is a place that deeply rewards deeper thought. It just does. You have the chops for that.
Thank you.
You know, what's also really interesting about LinkedIn. I agree with.
I don't like going to the gym. I don't like doing LinkedIn, but you know what? You never regret a workout. Maybe you never regret a LinkedIn post.
I think that's, Nicole, I really think it's true. And LinkedIn is now probably the final platform that's going all in on the TikTokification of social media, meaning the For You page, meaning anybody who's listening right now. I've spent a career. Actually, let's talk about this. I've spent 15 years going as hard as anyone in amassing followers across all these platforms. I've now been commoditized. Nicole's first post on LinkedIn, even though I have 5-6 million followers on LinkedIn, can reach more people than my last 80 posts. The merit of the individual post now creates the reach, not how many followers you have.
Right.
That's profound.
It's been flattened.
It's profound. It's probably the most exciting thing for everybody who's listening. You think you're behind, right? If I've been building a house for 15 years and you're starting today, I should be ahead. That's not what's happened. Social media took a huge tweak. It's now interest graph, not social graph. It's the interest network now. It's not the social network. It's the individual piece of content.
Have you sponsored any of your posts?
Like run ads?
Yeah.
Of course.
And how much money are you making that way?
Nothing. I'm not selling anything. But like I'm not converting into anything, but I do it occasionally just to see like I'm always trying to be a practitioner. But wine text, 4 or 5 years ago, 3 years ago, I launched winetext.com for my dad. It's Groupon for wine, comes in text, right? We talked about it when we were together, right? That is running real. Like I don't think of it as sponsored the way I think everyone thinks about it. I think about it as an individual piece of content has done well. Who should I amplify? Who should I run ads against for this? For what? I, as GaryVee, am in brand land at all times. It's all brand. I'm not looking for the sale. When I come out with a VeeFriends NFT, when I come out with a Empathy Wines, when I come out with the book, I'll ask for the sales, and I'm thrilled to amplify and promote those as well. But it's so every 3-4 years. I'm thinking more as brand. If I have a piece of content that I think is resonating with an audience, I want more people to see it, right? And so I think of it as like running a commercial for the sake of brand.
Well, I think people who are listening want to understand like how you monetize, how they can monetize, what's realistic, or if you should look at social media not as monetization.
No, you should. Look, first of all, the ultimate way to monetize is build brand, not sales. So to me, that's first and foremost. So I think that people should understand that after they have success with organic social, amplifying that to be a sales or a brand play is absolutely right. Let me give you a quick, for instance. Yeah. You're a local flower shop. I'll just use it. And you put out a really nice, like you did a time lapse of you putting together a bouquet. Makes sense. Good music. And it hits. You normally get 800 views on your TikTok or Instagram, and this one gets 48,000. But you're a flower shop that only sells locally in Des Moines. And you got 48,000 views. It could be all over the place. But now you take that same video, you bring it back to your Adobe or whatever, however you're editing, and now you add your phone number, like free shipping on this bouquet. Now you change the copy. Now you may end with you doing another thing saying, like literally you run it, that same video, and at the end you add more video to it saying, hey, this was a post I did a couple of weeks ago that everybody went crazy for. I'm actually selling this bouquet. It's $49.99. Click the link below or email me, link in bio. And then you run it for $80 against 40 to 50-year-old females in Des Moines. Got it?
Got it?
Got it. Yeah, because what you're doing here is you're utilizing the power of these platforms to get
affirmation that the creative matters, mitigating the creative risk, which has always been the waste of marketing.
This guy just wrote a fucking textbook.
Yeah.
Though, like it's really cool because I know you're following. Super Bowl's the best ad in marketing. Mm-hmm. $8 million, you cannot get 130 million people to watch a 30-second video if you're the best day trader on all digital social.
Yeah.
The problem is if the video's not good, if the 30-second commercial's not good, you wasted it all.
Well, you talked about in the book the ocean spray dude, but like everybody's looking for the ocean spray dude lightning in a bottle.
But it's happening more than you think. What I didn't talk about was the mango gummy from Walgreens from their private label Nice. For everybody's listening right now, I really want you to do what I'm saying as you're walking the dog, working out. I want you to hear this. Go to eBay right now and search Nice mango gummy.
Okay.
I'm being dead serious right now. You will see on eBay right now that it's selling for 10, 5, 9, 12 bucks a bag. It's $1, whatever.
Yeah.
One TikTok made by a normal person sold out the product nationally. Ocean spray, Nice. I can give you 40 more examples. There's not one TV commercial in the last decade that sold out anything nationally around the country. It's over. It's over. And everyone's holding on for dear life. And that is actually the opportunity for normal people. Because as long as Coca-Cola continues to take hundreds of millions of dollars and throw it directly in the garbage, that leaves attention available for Rick and Johnny and Sally and Susan.
And Nicole and Jason.
Just want our gummies. All right, Gary,
yes.
we're going to end with this.
Please.
Gary Vaynerchuk, master of social media. We want to play a game with you.
Yes, sir.
It's called Go or Fucking Stop. And
I was going to say bullish or bearish, but he wanted to make it
no, I wanted to make it more Gary.
Very Gary.
Made it very Gary. Go or fucking stop. What I'm going to do is we're going to rapid fire off some things that are happening on social media. Tell us go, keep going, do it, good idea, fucking stop. It's over. Okay. Number one, CEOs firing people who are doing something hard, filming themselves crying, posting it to LinkedIn.
Got it. So a CEO trying to get empathy from the audience, but by doing something that we all know is like, fuck you, dude or lady.
Yeah.
Like, fucking stop.
So you're not corporate apologies on Instagram.
You're not tricking anybody.
Yeah.
I'll give you a different one. How about going completely the other side of the pillow? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, but business, unlike government, unlike schools, unlike parenting, unlike the media, has actual P&Ls, bank covenants, and is the closest thing to sports and is based on merit. So I had to fire these people because I want to hit a certain profit margin. I think the reason it's not landing is everyone knows they're full of shit.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the easiest way for them to not be full of shit is these people will get other jobs. I'm making a business decision.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Go or fucking stop. Executives dancing on social media.
Well, if it's like that famous Microsoft dance with Balmar and all those guys, I would say keep going because that's all-time great. I'm going to say go. Dancing is always the right decision, even if you fucking suck at it.
Yes.
Go or fucking stop. AI chatbots.
Go. If you have not started understanding that AI is oxygen, it is the internet, it is one of the most profound you've got to start getting used to it because it's going to eat up most of the rest of your life.
Go or fucking stop. Influencer tours of your facility, like Shein, the Shein thing.
That's oh, you mean like that bad one? Like yeah. I'm going to say a weird thing. I'm going to say go. You should fucking stop having like bad facilities, but giving tours is storytelling. And I think there's plenty of great businesses doing the right thing and little nuances of like a funny picture in the background or like, not if you're in the same place that has a foosball table and all the same bullshit, but like if you've got something unique or clever, it will capture a lot of people's attention.
Go or fucking stop. Long ass threads on Twitter.
Go. I think that as far as the long threads, here's why I said go. I want everyone to hear this. This is a good point. People will watch 8-hour movies. I always believed this, and I finally won the debates with my friends because people binge watch all of Wednesday Addams on Netflix in an afternoon. That's an 8-hour movie. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. It's an 8-hour movie. And people will stop watching an 11-second video 2 seconds in because you suck at it, and it's garbage. Length has always been a confusing thing in the last decade or two for people on quality. The reason I say go is some of the best stuff I've ever consumed was a 40-tweet rant from someone who really fucking knows something about something and were able to articulate it in written form. And then obviously a lot of people stink at it. But if you're good at it, the medium is really good.
So actually related, go or fucking stop 10-minute long TikTok videos. People don't know this. You can post it 10 minutes on there.
I mean, go. By the way, I would argue go on anything long form social media. I believe the social networks, X for sure, Meta, I believe, Snap, I don't think is thinking this way if I'm guessing, but they will soon. My prediction is that one of the major social networks will become one of the most important streaming services in the next decade. The attention's there. Why wouldn't they? Mm-hmm. I always thought that Twitter should have been a streaming service because it is the water cooler of us consuming long form video. When we watch sports and movies, we go to, or a live TV, we go to Twitter to talk about it. If they integrated that, I think X should be a streaming service.
All right, go or fucking stop. Giveaway campaigns to drive follower growth.
Ooh, I think that's a fucking stop. And I'll tell you why. It's a tricky one. Perception is reality, so I get why people want more followers because it makes them feel like the brand is stronger. The reason I'm fucking stop on it is the kind of user you get that came for like a free Tesla isn't staying for you anyway. So there's the lifetime value of that user is very low.
Last one, go or fucking stop. Podcasters playing a game with Gary on podcasts because they think it'll make good content.
Keep fucking going.
Yeah!
That's what I'm talking about.
Oppa.